there is no incentive if you're the Big 12 or the ACC or any of the Group of 5 leagues to change the rules for 2025, because chances are you're going to need those rules to help your teams. Like, I think the ACC is in a better spot with Clemson. Like, this particular Clemson team could, just be a top 4 team. Like, there's a chance of that. Miami could do that. Maybe there's another team in the ACC that maybe SMU. Maybe it's SMU this year. They have another great year. Maybe Louisville. So I think the ACC is probably maybe a little more ambivalent or agnostic on that, because they could probably do it either way. I think the Big 12 probably needs it to get a top 4 seed.
Yeah. Smash the numbers here said, how good of a reward is it to earn a bye by playing an extra game anyway? It's like Spider-Man is pointing at Spider-Man. Either way, you have to play the same number of games. And I don't think
the difference here is everybody else is playing an extra game too.
Yeah, because you have the 3 and 6 and
because you have the play-ins.
Yeah. But, so that's not. It would be an extra. It would be one less game, but also one less game.
His point for now makes perfect sense.
One less game that ends your season too. You play the extra game in the championship game, but if you lose, you're still in. Like if you lose the first round of the playoff, you're out, obviously. And if you have a bye, you get to advance further into it. And there's a financial bonus for your school if you make it to the quarterfinals right now. So like that's also part of it.
Yeah, but the way it is set up right now, I get where Ferris is coming from on that. But if they go to this thing with the play-ins, it won't matter.
The thing that we have to discuss, though, because coming out of the meetings, it kind of hit you what I was saying yesterday, and I think you're writing about this. But I wouldn't hold your breath that anything's going to be different this coming year, right?
I just don't see the incentive. Like, the way I look at the world is, what are your incentives to do this thing versus this thing? And I see no incentive if you're the ACC, the Big 12, or any of those other leagues to do anything different, because this system stands to benefit you more. And you could say, well, you don't want to piss off the SEC and the Big 10. What does it matter? They're just going to ram the thing down your throat for 2026 anyway. Like, they don't care.
Here's the thing that is interesting. The one thing that we know about Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, is that the man likes a good deal, right?
Yes.
He likes to wheel and deal and put himself in a position, and his conference in a position to, financially prosper, but also do things that are innovative and exciting. Is there anything that they could barter with them? Is there anything that the Big 12 could stand to gain by trading the seeding for this coming year? Like, what could the
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Big 12 offer, or sorry, the SEC and the Big 10 offer the Big 12 and the ACC to allow them to go along with this, or to persuade them to?
If I'm the Big 12, what would be financially beneficial for me, I think, would be probably a scheduling alliance with the SEC, a non-conference scheduling alliance. But the SEC is going to make one of those with the Big 10. So that's not on the table.
Yeah.
Like, and you could say, well, they can help us with some basketball stuff, but what does it matter? Like, the basketball thing, they're already going to expand the tournament. Like, that's going to help. That's going to help the Big 12 too, because the Big 12 is a very good basketball conference. They don't need the SEC to do that. They're fine without that happening. Like, I just don't see anything that the SEC or the Big 10 can do for those leagues, or would do for those leagues, that would cause me, if I were them, to do anything, to do any favors. Like, I don't feel like they need to do any favors for the SEC and the Big 10.
Yormark was wearing fine Italian leather loafers yesterday. The man knows how to make a deal. And I wonder if there is something
look at the cut of those suits.
Yeah, no, he is dressed to the nines every time I've seen him. And I don't know. He strikes me as somebody that could have maybe something up his sleeve. Maybe it's a amendment of the financial bonuses where, because like ASU made $4 million last year for making the quarterfinals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there a way that you could restructure who gets a bonus and how they get a bonus to help the money coming in still?
Maybe, but they've already, from what I understand, they've already settled on the money split for 2026, and it ain't good for everybody but the SEC and the Big 10.
Yeah. I don't know if they could come to an agreement of like, hey, maybe we make it less lopsided for the next few years. If I'm the
SEC and the Big 10, I'm like, I'm not giving you anything for this 1 year. Because
it's only 1 year. That's the thing. It's like you're not, and like the wholesale change or like the change that they make isn't a wholesale change. It's a 1 year bridge to whatever 2026 comes as that new deal comes up. So like that.
And
that
also,
to me,
the more I think about it, and maybe it's because going through this last night just made me mad because the old conference alignments would have.
did it just occur to you that it sucks the Pac-12 died? Is that like because
No, I mean it always sucks
for
the
3 years.
Pac-12 died. It's just seeing how widespread the effect of its death is and what it did. Like,
oh yeah.
Also, I'm kind of mad that they didn't do this. Like this format, if they'd have started with this in 2014, would have been amazing. Like they robbed us of years of that.
If the teams were the same, it wouldn't. I think we're good. Like during those years, like I think like if you wouldn't, everybody
the Baylor
had the same
TCU
players
thing, you wouldn't
time.
think about 2014, the Baylor TCU thing. I was like, the Baylor and TCU got jobbed. Well, they would have both made the playoff, and they would have had a chance to play those teams, and you would have known one way because like Alabama in 2014 was not
2 years out of the 10, Andy, that it had an impact, and it was the first year and the last year.
I don't know. I would have liked to have seen it.
Yeah,
I would have enjoyed it. This show is sponsored by Panini, makers of the most collectible sports cards on the planet. Visit PaniniAmerica.net to collect your favorite college and NFL stars. We talked quite a bit about a very big Panini find that a collector, well, actually, he bought it out of Card Break and probably got himself a nice six-figure payout. But we're gonna rip a pack here right now. I got a pack of Prism draft picks right here. So last week I got a Cooper DeJean autograph out of one of these packs. So let's see what we get here, Ari. We got an AD Mitchell autograph.
Oh, I want that. Can I have that?
What are you gonna give me?
Can I
Just
show you
give
a
it
nuke
to
that
you.
did I show you a nuke I hit in a break?
Yeah, let me see that.
Nuke.
Let me see what you got.
This is a Lad McConkey booklet to 4 with a Nike swoosh patch out of the Spectra product.
Well, you want to start your own Panini collection, visit PaniniAmerica.net right now to start collecting your favorite college and NFL stars.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool to see if TCU or Baylor were good enough to win games. Like the way that Ohio State won the national title that year, it's like pretty obvious who the best team was at the time, but it would have been cool to see. I'll give you that.
It was pretty obvious who the best team was this year, but I like the process. I like the journey. So,
not at the beginning.
No, not at the beginning.
But that's your point.
But Ohio State wasn't obviously the best team going into that playoff either.
No, there was some thought about whether or not they would have made it at all with Cardale Jones. I remember. I was there.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It actually is a fairly similar comparison. But yeah, I don't know.
And what Ohio State did this year might be like, yeah, well, maybe TCU or Baylor would have done that in 14. I don't know.
And part of me is like the I know I've gotten very cynical as I've gotten older, but there's still a little bit of like tilting at windmills in me. Like if I'm Brett Yormark and Jim Phillips, just be like, I'm going to say no to this just because I know you want it, Big Ten and SEC. And I'm not going to let you have it because this is the last chance I'm going to have to say, I'm going to deny you this because you're just going to steamroll me.
But here's the thing that you
from
have
here
to
on out
too, and I don't know, like if this is naive of me, and I'm a naive person at times, but when guys like Brett Yormark and Jim Phillips are in that building having that meeting yesterday, their number one responsibility is their constituents, right? Like their institutions,
yes.
their schools. But I would hope, and I don't know if this is true or ever happens, but do you think that these guys ever feel like maybe we should do what's best for the game? Or
yes, I do think that I do think a lot of them think about that. And that's why I go back to when the 4 guys made the 12-team playoff. I think they were thinking about what was best for the game. Because you go back and look at it, how it would have worked with the alignment that existed when they started making it. But it actually would have worked well.
There's no way that Yormark would be like, we want that money and we want first round bye, but it's not good for the game. So we'll do what's best for the game. Like that's never going to happen, right? Like it's always going to just be.
I don't think it's going to happen much anymore. I think there are people who think of it and who would like to do it, but I also think they have a responsibility to their constituents to do what's best financially for their constituents.
And then once the automatic qualifiers come, because I feel like that's where we're headed. Like it's going to be a pretty divisive decision. It's going to alienate a lot of people and feeling like they're less than, and maybe they are less than. I don't know, but
that's the thing. It will define less than, and that's the part I felt like they were trying to avoid for a long time, but now they're just nakedly going to say, okay, ACC, you're going to get two spots. The Big Ten and the SEC, they're getting 4. Big 10 or Big 12, you're getting 4.
Is if and when that happens. Like, let's just create a fantasy land where Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, and Louisville are all awesome in the same year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Big Ten or the SEC.
Possible.
I mean, it's possible, right? I don't know how many. You're the Florida guy. Tell me how often Florida State and Miami have been awesome at the same time. It happened quite a bit when I was a kid, right?
The entirety of the I mean, the 80s and 90s, with the exception of the late 90s for Miami.
At the same time as Florida, not all 3 of them, but 2 of them.
Yeah. There's like a small period in the early 90s. Yeah.
But where the ACC actually does have 4 of the best teams, and 2 get left out because they don't have the AQs in a year, because like that's going to happen eventually, right? So it would stink if the 4th best team in the SEC was clearly not as good as the 4th best team in the ACC, and then the ACC's 4th best team gets screwed somehow.
Yeah.
As a result of AQs that I mean, I'm against AQs. I don't know about you. And I also think it's kind of cowardly.
Well, I agree.
The Big Ten and the SEC have a better chance of getting more than 4.
I agree. And I think it's interesting that the SEC used to use that to call the Big Ten cowardly, because it was when Kevin Warren was commissioner of the Big Ten that he initially wanted to define who got the automatic bids in the 4-team playoff. Like he wanted to define that the Big Ten would get one of those, or that in the 12-team, when instead of the 5 highest ranked conference champs, it was just the champs of these 4, and then the next highest ranked conference champ.
I'm okay with AQs for conference champions. Like if you want to be like, hey, you win your conference, you're in. Like that. Even
but I mean, what I'm saying is the SEC, their argument against the Big Ten then was, well, you don't need to do that. But the SEC has fallen in line with the Big Ten on that.
Well, yeah, the Big Ten and the SEC champion will never not get in, whether it's defined or not, right? So like that.
But now it's not even about the champion. Now they've fallen in line with the idea of this is how many you get.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I don't want anybody to automatically get in outside of conference champs.
Well, I don't think you're going to get what you want.
I know. Well, and I just like, this is the thing that I said on the show last week, and I'll say it again. The discussion isn't about how many get in anymore. It's how they get in.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure there's a discussion anymore. That's the thing. And that's why at this point, why bother expressing a strong opinion? Because it doesn't matter what I think.
Well,
they're going to do what they're going to do.
You can express your strong opinion.
Well, my strong opinion is you don't need automatic bids. Just take the top 14. But that's not what they're going to do.
And the top 14 most years will equate to 4-4 and 2-2. But we have to protect.
But that's the thing. That's what they're going to say. They're going to say, well, this is how it would happen most years anyway. Then let it happen like that most years. But they're not going to. Because what do suits like? They like certainty.